Hi, I'm Leah Johansson, and this is my presentation on my public park survey results and recommendations. First, I'll be talking about the purpose of the survey, prior research findings, and my survey research questions and methods. The purpose of this presentation is to share my survey findings and recommendations. This whole research project started with the initial design question of how can we improve interactions between dogs, dog walkers, and non-dog walkers at city parks. This survey was created based on previous findings. Here are some findings from the field study and one-on-one interviews. In the field study, I found that pathways directly affect walkers' behaviors. Also, based on observations, it appeared that some people did not want any interactions with people nor dogs. This was seen when they ignored others. But I did observe some friendly interactions between dogs and walkers. The field study showed the interactions between dog and non-dog walkers, but did not give insight into the whys and reasoning behind behaviors. So for the interview, I wanted to reveal the reasons behind these interactions. In the 3 one-on-one interviews, I found that the participants tended to enjoy a park more if there were some water aspects, such as a lake or ocean. They also tended to go on walks to either de-stress and or exercise. And both non-dog walkers and walkers stated they thought that grassy areas were enjoyed by dogs and created some dog-to-dog or person interaction. Since the interview participants tended to talk less about interactions and more about physical aspects of parks, I changed the design question to, how can parks be designed to support positive experiences for dogs, dog walkers, and non-dog walkers? This new design question focuses more on park attributes, but I still want to pay attention to what positive interactions for walkers look like, because interactions or lack of interactions are still part of park experiences. The purpose of the survey was to validate and explore findings from the field study and interviews, and to gather quantitative data about a quote-unquote larger population of walkers. The broad research questions that scoped the survey were, what features do walkers enjoy the most about parks? This question confirmed and extended previous findings. What is restful and relaxing about parks? This was an elaborate question. And how do walkers feel towards dogs? This was an extend question. For the survey, I used Google Forms because I was familiar with the platform. My participants were both non-dog walkers and dog walkers, as I wanted to hear about both perspectives because they both walk at parks. I did not put a limit on age because I wanted a broad age range because all ages walk at parks. But one requirement I had was the participants had to walk at parks at least once a month. This was because I wanted participants who were fairly familiar with parks and would directly profit from positive park changes. Their survey questions were a wide range of multiple choice, ranking, rate, and one open-ended question. They also spanned the confirm, elaborate, and extend concepts. One shortcoming of this survey was the sample size. I only had 19 respondents, which means the findings cannot be assumed to cover the walker population as a whole. Now I will share my 3 results and recommendations that are based on my analysis of my survey I sent out. There's a disclaimer for all of these results. We cannot assume it applies to the walker population as a whole, as I stated above, because there are only 19 respondents, and that is not enough for the results to be statistically valid. Also, you can look at the appendices at the end of the slides that show the data analysis process more in depth, or can view the Excel sheet attached. The first question I wanted to answer was, what do walkers want at parks that current parks lack? I found that clean public bathrooms are the most wanted park feature. I used the open-ended question from my survey asking what walkers wanted at parks to help answer this question. I organized the responses into categories which are shown in color, and then each response is shown in a white sticky note. Some people stated one or more things they wanted to have at parks. After finding the qualitative data analysis with the categories, I wanted to transform it into quantitative data and show which categories are the most important and popular. This bar chart shows the popularity of each wanted feature category at parks. The previous slide shows the actual responses under each category. As you can see in the bar chart, bathrooms are the most popular responses, with 8 people stating they wanted cleaner bathrooms or just more public bathrooms in general. The next popular feature at parks were off-leash dog areas and water aspects. This implies that walkers would like parks to have more cleaner bathrooms. Adding cleaner bathrooms could make park experiences more positive for walkers. This result directly answers the design question and gives us insight into what features would help create a more positive experience for walkers at public parks. Based off of result number 1, I would recommend that parks focus on cleaning up existing bathrooms and adding more clean public bathrooms to create a better experience for park walkers. Then I would also recommend adding more off-leash areas that are gated for dogs. This is important to include park aspects that would also cater towards dogs and dog walkers, as they are half of the target population. The second question I wanted to know more about was, what do people find relaxing at parks? The result correlating with this question found that lakes and oceans are the most calming features at parks for people who go on walks to distress. When looking at my data, I found that 14 out of 19 participants, which is 74%, stated that they go on walks to distress. I then looked to see what those 14 participants answered for the question asking them to rate park features based on how calming each feature is to them. The rating scale was 1, very calming, to 5, not calming. I then totaled the ratings for all the features which you see in the bar graph. The smaller the rating, the more calming that feature is to walkers. It appears that lakes are the most calming features to parks. The second most calming feature is the ocean, and people don't find grassy areas to be that calming. This result is important to include in the restructure of parks to support a positive experience at parks. This result implies that since people tend to go on walks to de-stress, having calming features such as lakes and ocean would create a more positive park experience. Based on result 2, I recommend that parks incorporate a lake somewhere in the middle of the park so everyone can access and see it. I would also recommend keeping the lake well maintained so people can enjoy the view of the lake. Furthermore, since a lot of people go on walks to de-stress, I would recommend having yoga lessons near the lake or ocean or have designated meditation or quiet areas. I would need to do further research into those recommendations. You can see this on the photo on this page. Lastly, I would recommend that new parks invest in land that is near the ocean, as this will attract people to walk in the park because of result 2. The third question I wanted to know more about was, what makes walkers comfortable petting others' dogs? The result correlating with this question found that dog cuteness and person walking the dog seems friendly are the two main factors that affect walkers' decision to pet a dog. First, based on a scale of 1, dislike dogs, to 5, love dogs, both dog and non-dog walkers tended to say that they loved and liked dogs. The majority, 16 out of 19 participants, chose that they loved or very much liked dogs. No walker stated they disliked dogs. This is an important pre-finding because it tells us that both walker types like dogs, so dogs and walkers can coexist and enjoy parks together. After showing that walkers like dogs, I wanted to explore what makes walkers comfortable petting other people's dogs. The graph shows that the two main factors that affect if walkers pet dogs or not is if the dog is cute and if the person walking the dog seems friendly. This result implies that people tend to pet dogs if both the dog and owner seem friendly. This is helpful in answering how parks can support interactions between dogs and walkers. These interactions are important because they are part of positive experiences at parks. Based on result 3, I would recommend that parks offer colored bandanas to dog walkers that communicate if the walker is okay with people asking and petting their dog. Green could mean yes and red could mean no. This is shown in the picture. I would also recommend that parks have a petting zone in the gated off-leash areas where walkers can interact with dogs. This could be a safe place with only friendly dogs and people. This recommendation applies to the design question because part of park experiences are the interactions that people have with other people and dogs. It appears that because people do like dogs, parks can support that interaction that contributes to walkers' overall park experience. Now I will talk about my next steps and reflection upon this research method. If I was continuing this research, I would want to dive into how walkers feel about off-leash dog areas, as the interviews were the only time I asked about off-leash areas. I will talk more about that in my reflection. Going off this topic, I would explore if walkers do want to pet others' dogs and what kind of physical environment would support this interaction, as interactions are one aspect of park experiences. On the other hand, I would also need to learn more about how dog walkers feel about people asking and petting their dogs. This is important to get their opinions to ensure that every walker type has a positive park experience. Lastly, all of my research methods focus on walkers themselves, as they were readily available, but I did not get to interview or get information from park architects or designers. Since my design question revolves around how to design a park to support all walkers, it'd be important to get the perspectives and information on how people actually design parks and what goes into that. This could include design requirements and limitations. If I were to do this survey again, I would use my newfound knowledge about quantitative analysis and write the questions knowing how they will be analyzed. I did this a little bit but did not really know a lot about quantitative analysis, so my questions did not work as well together as I would have liked. Also, after looking at my data, I would have liked to have a question about walkers' feelings about off-leash areas. I did not have a question about that in this survey, just merely because I forgot. The survey respondent pool of 19 and only having 6 dog walker respondents are limitations of the survey. This is a small number of walkers whose answers and findings cannot be assumed to represent walkers at public parks as a whole. In the future, I would want to survey more people if I had more time, and I would like to have about half of the population be non-dog walkers and half of the population be dog walkers. I was surprised that the quantitative data analysis was harder than the qualitative data analysis we did in the previous methods. I'm a quantitative person, so I thought this part would be easier, but I realized that a lot of thought and intention has to go into the creation of the questions to ensure success in analysis. Thank you for listening to my presentation about my survey results and recommendations. Here are the appendices slides that show the data analysis more in depth.